Okay, welcome back. Solo role Mangging. Phandelver and below, Shattered Obelisk, Tales of Argosa, all that stuff. So first things first. I was a bit dumb. I mean, I was a bit dumb in a good way. No, I don't know. When it came to the cache that we found by the river. And that's because of the coins. Because if we go here, you see I rolled for L, and we got, you know, a decent little, like, I don't remember what number we rolled, like 30 or something copper, and then like 14 silver. I was like, okay, there's just a scattering of coins. Except I didn't think about that. I think I was too excited. I didn't think about this at all, and I'm an idiot. Because the top of the column here very specifically, clearly says this is in thousands. So I found 14,000 silver. Which is, a lot. That's a lot. That's gonna be 1,400 gold, which is not. I mean, 1,400 gold is not like an absurd amount, but that is kind of like the bulk of sort of the value, I guess. I mean, that's a lot of the value of this cache is in that silver. I probably should go back to what number I rolled for copper. 35. So that's 35,000 copper. Which is just like 350 gold extra, but still 350 gold extra. But the problem is, of course, this is a massive just pile of metal that we have to bring back to civilization. Because we can fit 200 coins in one slot. Assuming we get a cart, you know, we buy a cart, like a wagon or something, that can hold, I think we said like 160 stone, so 160 slots of material, which is quite a lot. So we got to go to the calculator here. We're looking at 14,000 divided by 200. 70 slots of silver coins. Okay, and then we have 35,000 copper. Whoops. 175. So I cannot take all the copper. I couldn't even fit all the copper onto one wagon. I think we might be able to if we do, because that might just be its normal encumbrance. So a cart, a large cart, pulled by 2 heavy horses, or a wagon pulled by 2 heavy horses. That can hold 160 normal and then 320, up to 320 with its with heavy encumbrance. So it would be it would only be able to move 6 miles per day. So it would be a slow trip back home. But if we go to the city, we buy a wagon and 2 heavy horses, we can definitely pull this back. We can also just get by with a cart and 2 heavy horses. Or can we? 175 plus 2. No, we would be slightly over. No, I mean, we do have the donkey, but yeah, probably just buy the wagon and 2 heavy horses. The wagon, though, is 200 gold compared to the cart. We could just leave some copper behind, I guess. It wouldn't be the end of the world. It's an emergency cache that we know where it is, and maybe we can come back to it if we're robbed or something. Yeah, I think that's the plan. And I can't believe I just thought there was just a scattering of coins here. Again, I was just too excited. I didn't think about it. But yeah, it was a big deal. So we're gonna go back to Neverwinter. We're gonna buy the wagon, 2 heavy horses, which they're gonna have. I mean, it's a class 1 city. They have everything. And can I point out that this map is completely unrealistic? I mean, a city the size of Neverwinter would all have to have been converted to just farmland and stuff to feed the amount of people in Neverwinter. It has to be just ridiculous, right? I mean, you can't just put a giant city anywhere you want. Just be like, yeah, okay. And down the road is Phandelver, and down this road is some ruins, and yeah, here's a city of 120,000 people. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. Anyways, I digress. So I don't remember where we left off, so we'll just call it a new day. And one of the reasons I'm doing this, like I've been doing all the solo role-playing and stuff, is just to become better as a DM and just to learn new things and get better at all this, pick up some new tricks, and kind of discuss reasoning and rationale behind certain decisions and mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And so I mentioned last time how I wish there was just a generator for, like, the axe weather. And I looked at the Discord, and there definitely is. Multiple people have put together various generators based on the axe tables. So if we go to here, so this is pinned, I'm pretty sure, in the axe or the autark Discord server, and you can just make a copy of this on your own Google Drive and stuff, and it's pretty good. So it has the wilderness tables. So you set it for the terrain that you're interested in, grassland, prairie. You can set the territory type, if it's on a road or not. You can set your setting. I haven't really futzed with that because basically I'm always going to be playing in high fantasy, although I could see sword and sorcery maybe being... I don't know exactly what it changes, because I don't remember that discussion in the book, but yeah, I have no idea what that changes. Whether it uses the classic or the heroic treasure tables. And then if it generates treasure, there's a chance for special treasure substitutions based on a certain amount of money and stuff like that. And then it'll generate however many wilderness encounters you want, numbered, and you just you would tick it down. So basically, for our day of adventure here, we know that we're going to be traveling 3 hexes. We're going to go 1, 2, 3. And so we would just go tick, 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 We wouldn't be on a road, though. We regenerate that. So tick, tick, tick. So we'd have no encounter in the first hex. We'd have a vista. We'd find a vista in the second hex. So we'd be here. And we'd tick that off. Find a place with a fantastic view of the surrounding terrain. Maximum visibility distance and encounter distance are doubled from the vista. Yeah, okay. And then the third one, we'd find a group of patrollers, right next to Neverwinter. That's not surprising at all. But then if we went over one more, we'd find some berserkers, which would be fun. But yeah, and I think probably we would just kind of leg it a bit further to get to Neverwinter as it gets dark and stuff. So we'd force march a little bit. Okay, so we're in Neverwinter now, which I can't imagine many people playing Lost Mines of Phandelver make it back to Neverwinter to do some stuff. But yes, we are running a different kind of game here. So, also, the other things this has, obviously, is the weather generator. So, you set the season, and you set the climate. depending on where you are. So we would be like temperate, I guess temperate, but not a forest. So I guess we're continental. A dry winter and a warm summer, and it's spring, and then it just builds 94 days for you for the whole season. And so, you know, if we go here, our weather during this day, it was a balmy 72 degrees day, clear skies with moderate winds, but then the weather temperature dropped quite a bit as sunset got dropped down to 34, but it was still clear skies with gentle winds. And that's it. You know, it just rolls based on the tables in the book. It just saves you a hell of a lot of time. And then tomorrow, so when we wake up and do our shopping, it's going to be drizzling, which is fine. It's still a warm 82 degrees, gentle winds. It's a little drizzle, cool you off. So on and so forth. And you can see some of the other effects that are going to occur on various days. Very strong winds, which are going to... And I like that it tells you the effects of the weather, so you don't have to keep referencing the book. So all missile attack throws and listening proficiency throws suffer a -2 penalty. Your expedition speed is halved. And airspeed, if you're flying, is halved in any terrain and windy conditions. And if you're in barrens or desert terrain, visibility is reduced to 20 feet. All speeds are halved in land surveying, navigation, searching, tracking, proficiency throws also suffer -4 penalties due to sandstorms and dust clouds. Whereas drizzly is just if you're finding firewood, it's a -2 penalty, which we don't really do. Yeah, so the weather here is pretty fine. Eventually, though, you might get a sweltering day, which is fun. 100-degree sweltering day. Expedition speed is halved. If you're wearing 5 stone or more of armor, so in our case, that would just be any heavy armor, you'd make a death saving throw, which I would make a con saving throw every hour. If the throw fails, the adventurer becomes fatigued until he sheds his armor for at least 1 hour. Your required water ration is increased by 25%. I don't know if we'd really adjudicate that. If you become dehydrated, you lose 2d6 con each day rather than 1d6. If you are resistant or invulnerable to fire damage, you suffer none of the above effects. Very interesting. Yeah. Curiously, no days where it's like pouring. And I wonder if that's because of this specific... Like, if we went with a temperate weather, if we might see some more pouring. Oh, yeah, we see a lot more mud. Okay, yeah, here, just rain, rain, rain. Maximum visibility distance drops to half. Missile attacks suffer. Earth and roads provide no benefits. Navigation, searching suffers a penalty. Foraging suffers a penalty for firewood. Tracking suffers a penalty. If you endure rainy conditions for 7 consecutive days, you have a 10% chance of catching a disease. And then mud as well because of the rain. So unless you're traveling on a paved road, your speed is halved. Earth and gravel roads provide no benefit in mud, and wheeled vehicles cannot move in mud except on paved roads. Yeah, I mean, it's significant stuff, and it makes all sense. And so this rain, look at this, that goes on for 4 days, and then you get hit with very strong winds, but the mud persists. Because that was a lot of rain, and then it keeps drizzling and more mud, and you're just, so much mud. Eventually it lets up, though, but then drizzles come again, and more mud, and yeah. I mean, I don't really know enough about climates to know what the Sword Coast is. Is it a hot summer? It seems a little too hot for spring. I don't know. It's hard to say, I guess. I mean, this seems like what I'd go, but I feel like rain should happen more than this is happening. There should be April showers kind of stuff rather than just drizzles. So I don't think this is correct just because it never rains. This one also doesn't really rain. Just drizzles a lot. And has snow flurries sometimes. Any climate here where it doesn't rain, I feel like is just not what we're dealing with. Yeah, okay. This is probably correct. Temperate with dry winter, warm summer. And just, depending on the rolls, it might not rain heavily. It might just drizzle. But yeah, there you go. So that's perfect. I'll be using that. And then it also includes the treasure tables. So you can roll, sword and sorcery, heroic. You can type in here the type. So if we wanted to generate our cash based on this, it'd be pretty simple, and we can just pick high fantasy and it'll generate. Okay, so 22,000 copper, 11,700 silver, 1 captured or enslaved domestic servant worth 100 gold, 12 stone if unconscious, 1 captured or enslaved laborers worth 40 gold pieces each, 1 crate of glassware worth 7.5 gold pieces each, 1 crate of glassware worth 7.5 gold pieces each, 11 M4 of beer, 13 M4 of beer, 2 bags of clothing, 2 crates of glassware, 29 bags of grain or vegetables. I mean, I guess, the one we rolled for and generated was all very, it was all very sort of D&D-esque magical stuff, potions and scrolls and stuff. Whereas this is a lot of, goods that you'd have to shift, We roll over to classic just for comparison. Jewelry made of shells, jewelry made of wrought brass, 1 M4 of preserved fish, 11 M4 of wine and spirits, 8 M4 of wine and spirits, potion of lightless vision, and a short sword +1, +3 versus oozes. Yeah, I mean, I think they're fairly similar. Here, this is much more like some jewelry, some crates of fine porcelain, ingots of metals, and then potion, scroll, arrow +1 × 5, crossbow bow +1. So pretty handy to just generate this on the fly without rolling all the individual things for copper, silver, gold, jewelry, gems, so on and so forth. I feel like all the goods here must be coming from this special substitution. I wonder if I drop that to 0. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that was all coming from that. So that's why I didn't roll any. Because I didn't do anything like that. So depending on, how you feel about handing out just glassware and stuff to your players and how your players might react to that, you can just turn that off. How do I feel about that? I probably like it, to be honest. Rather than just 51,000 copper, 10,000 silver, 6,000 gold, it's like, no, you actually find stuff that's not just... Because it depends, I suppose, on the nature of the treasure hoard that you're finding. Like, I could see a cache out by the river or something. I could see that just basically being coins. Like, in a giant chest or something that someone buried or tried to hide or blah, blah, blah. Like a pirate treasure or something. Whereas some other treasure hoard that you might find, like the goblins in the cave, all the things they stole, there was some money in there, but there was a lot of like goods. They stole from the costers. They hijacked wagons. That's not all just going to be money. That's going to be things like beer and grain and glassware and pottery and preserved meat, animal antlers and tusks and so on and so forth. And yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if I would do 30% substitution. But yeah. You can also then have it automatically generate the scrolls for you. So you just put in whether it's arcane or divine, and then the total number of spell levels, and it'll tell you what language the scroll is in, and what all the spells are for Axe. So for us, we could put in 18. I don't think we determined if it was arcane or divine, so let me do that real quick. 1, 2, or 3 is divine. Okay, it's arcane. And we'll just put in here 18. Take the first result. There you go. So it's written in Elven, and it's got a lot of spells. It's got a couple thunderclaps in there. We're familiar with that spell. Yeah, it saves a lot of time as well. It's got other stuff. Because you can also have it generate treasure maps. But it's like kind of vague, you know. And I did look up in the Discord about the complex map, you know, where it's like Stonehenge or something. And basically everyone's advice is just don't generate that on the fly. Like, you should have at least one of those prepared, you know. And it should just be like a puzzle or something. And honestly, like, basically I think it would have been like this. Like, we found the complex map and we kind of pieced it together and figured it out, and it led to this cache by the river, and you could basically just do that. It's kind of free money, but you know, I don't know, it's hard to say. And then there are some discussions about the cache and how to do that, and valuable terrain in general, with some people complaining that they didn't like the nature of caches, where it's just the adventurers just are wandering, you know, they're traveling back and forth, they're doing who knows what, and they just kick over a rock and they find, you know, 30,000 gold or something. Because it's just an insane amount of XP and money for doing nothing, and sort of breaks like the incentive to go into dungeons and stuff, because you can just wander around and eventually find caches of massive loot. I mean, it's slim chance to find relatively slim. Basically, if you're in this region, like a Borderlands region off the road, it's every hex would have a 10% chance of being valuable terrain, and then it would be 1 on a 1d12 for a cache. So it's like 8% or something like that. So a 10% and then an 8% on any hex you enter. And there's a lot of dangers that you could run into while doing it. I don't know if you'd really want to wander around specifically just to find caches, but I mean, I guess you could. So I agree, it is kind of weird. And other people suggested that you don't just find a cache and it's just sitting there and it's just like, yeah, you kick over a rock and there's gold. It should be more involved than that. Like, it should actually be the site of, like, there should be some sort of obstacle in order to actually retrieve the cache, whether it be like a little dungeon or some sort of terrain challenge, or some sort of logistical challenge. Like, I don't know how exactly you'd find it, and there would also be a challenge in removing it, but like some sort of massive boulder that's like covering it, or, you know, who knows, something like that. I don't know. I like the idea of that, but to be clear, that's not what the book says. And we can go over what the book says again. For a cache. The adventurers find a hidden stash of loot or other unguarded treasure. It's, you know, and it just says roll for the treasure. And there's not much to say about it. It doesn't mention anything about it being difficult to access or anything. It just said they find a hidden stash of loot or other unguarded treasure. It is literally meant to just be a massive boon. Granted, it is pretty much the best one. The food, you just find, like, easy food. The fountain, you find just a good, clean supply of water. hidden settlement is not inherently valuable, I suppose, in the same way. There's people living there, but they're not actively hostile. Monster Carcass basically gives you some free parts from the monster. Ore, I mean, yeah, the ore is valuable, but then you have to, like, mine it. And you might be, like, breaking the law by just, you know, I don't know what the term for it would be, but basically just stealing ore off of some lord's land that you don't have permission for or something. Who knows what. There's a ruin. So you find a ruined building that's, if it was restored, is worth a lot. But again, the logistics of, like, claiming ownership of it, restoring it, selling it, blah, blah, blah. Safe haven is just a safe spot to rest and sleep without encounters. There's a shortcut, which basically removes a modifier to travel speed, or you can treat it as a road through that hex. Useful herbs. You find 2d100 pounds of herbs. So, I mean, that's similar, again, that's just like something you could gather and sell. Vista, which we just found, you know, it's just like, yeah, it's a nice spot for scouting or something like that. And then a D12 on the D12, you get to roll twice. So the cache is certainly, like, the best as far as, oh my god, instant XP, instant loot. So, I mean, I like the idea, I guess, of making it a little trickier to slightly discourage the practice of just wandering around in hopes you find hidden stashes of loot. But it's a little tricky to come up with on the spot, and the book does not provide any indication towards that concept. Okay, where was I? What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, right. So, very, very useful generator thing here. And then they have all the treasure tables listed for your perusal. But, yeah, mostly these first 3 tabs. Very nice. Okay, so we're in Neverwinter, and it's a new day. We gotta do some shopping. We got these 2. We got our donkey. Loyal donkey. So as far as selling is concerned, we were going to sell the plate armor +1, which is valued at 650 plus the value of plate armor itself, which I think is like 60. Yeah, 60. So 710, subtracting 10% off of that is it's like 71. $639 gold. That by itself is fucking 3 slots worth of gold, but we'll invest that straight into the horses and wagon. So we know the wagon is 200. The heavy draft horses, which is what we're looking for, those are each 40. So we're looking at spending 280 of this right away. That leaves us with 359 just off the value of the plate armor. But that's been sold. That's gone. And then there's these pearls. 6 pearls, 250 gold pieces each. The thing is, like, that's why treasure and stuff like that is often nicer not to sell. Because 250 gold each, if we sold all those, that's 1,500 gold, which takes up 7 slots of inventory, whereas the pearls, just 1 slot. So honestly, I don't know if I want to sell them. Not until we've decided something we want to purchase. Then there's all our other things. So we can sell this. Yeah, honestly, the arrows probably just sell because I don't want to handle it. I don't want to adjudicate it or, you know, butts with it. So just sell those. So those are 65 total. 10% off of each though. Oh god. Math. Just do 10% off the total. So 65 minus 6.5 is 58.5. Okay, let's add that to our running total. Plus 58.5. Okay. So those are gone. Scroll of creature. We can't use any of the scrolls, so we may as well sell all of them. And I don't know if we would really recognize... Do we want to pay someone to tell us what these scrolls are, is the question. I guess we probably could and probably should. Did we... Okay. So it depends on the base cost of the scroll, which means we have to go back, I think, to magic research and creating magic items. And what it costs to make a scroll. Which I don't think is cheap. There's a lot going on here. A Scroll of Slumber has a base cost of 500 gold pieces. Its material component and research cost are each 500 gold pieces. What the hell, man? I mean, this is expensive shit. Well, okay, so... Yeah, I mean, it's a one-use effect. It's a scroll. That's 500 gold pieces times the spell level for the component cost. But then the material cost is equal to that. So yeah, that seems kind of wildly expensive, doesn't it? Slumber is a level 1 arcane spell. Right? So to make a Scroll of Slumber costs you 1,500 gold. To make one? I mean, I suppose to make one. Yeah. As far as I can tell. It seems wildly inefficient and expensive, but I that's the intention, is you're not just cranking out scrolls, because no one's really buying these things. It's a hell of a lot cheaper to just hire a wizard that can cast Slumber, you know? is all very interesting. I mean, that means I feel like our our scroll with 18 spell levels has to be phenomenally like expensive. I don't even know. I don't even know. I mean, would it be 1,500 times 18? Because that's an insane amount. But I mean, 1,500 is already an insane amount in my mind. I don't know. And I don't know enough to really dig into this. And I don't think we need that much money just to do the Shattered Obelisk. So I'm not going to go hog wild here. And let's just pretend we're idiots and we'll just sell it for its unidentified cost. So let's just do 150 for each of the 4 scrolls. So that's 135 times 4. Or I could just do 600 minus 60. It's probably easier. Yeah, so 540 then for our scrolls. Again, it's like a lot of money. Alright, it's fine. That's what we're doing. Then we have the potions and the oils. And again, like, we probably should just pay an apothecary to identify this for us. I don't know what that would even cost. It's a pretty minor amount from this. Like, magic items are one thing, but this is just like, it takes them 10 minutes. So I guess it's like, what's their hourly rate? Okay, so an alchemist earns 250 gold per month if you were to hire them. So that's like, what, 9 gold per day? So I can't imagine it costs this more than a few gold to get these identified. An alchemist can identify common alchemical substances in 1 round with a proficiency throw of 3+. Damn. You can brew potions as if you were a 5th level mage. Yeah, so honestly, it should be pretty easy to do. But they tend to charge a lot, especially for people coming in off the street, right? So we'll deduct 10 gold for some frou-frou alchemist to tell us what this shit is. So now we know what it all does. So a potion of adjust self. These should all be spells, right? Alright, adjust self. Grants the caster the ability to alter his shape into that of any other humanoid creature. The caster can control his new shape's physical qualities such as height, weight, sex, hair color, hair texture, and skin color within the normal ranges for a creature of its kind. His equipment, if any, remains worn or held where possible, otherwise melds into the new form. Okay, so if we wanted to look like a goblin, for example, and this lasts for an hour plus 1 turn per caster level. That's an interesting question. What level spell is in the potion? Hold on, now I got more we got questions on questions here, man. This is what happens. This is how all these videos go. God, I mean, where do you find the answer to that? Does it depend on the level of the mage that created it? I could see that happening. It says its duration, caster level, usage requirements, and usage time are determined by the type of item. That doesn't really tell me. Like, if you make a wand, it says the effects of a wand are at minimum caster level +1 for the effect. That doesn't tell me the answer I need. Damn. There's so much, man. There's so fucking much. I'm not sure. There's might be a specific rule somewhere that tells me. I mean, maybe I should be looking under potions or something. I don't know. It's like brew potions. Doesn't really say, it just says you can brew potions, you know? So, there's probably an answer somewhere. If I was, I mean, obviously I can just pick a number. Counts as a first level mage for purposes of brewing potions. Counts as a third level mage, fifth level mage. I mean, it might just be... I think it might just be based on the level of the magic user that made it. I mean, that would make the most sense. And that's why it says if you have the alchemist proficiency, just the base version, you make potions as like a first level mage. Even though I don't think a first level mage can make potions. Yeah, I think you have to be 5th level as a... But any, you know, I guess anybody could take the alchemist proficiency and then make it as a first level mage. Yes, okay. So I think it's pretty much just based on the level of the person making it. Okay, that's fine then. So that would mean then that likely, well, no, I mean, it's not necessarily a 5th level mage that made this. It could be higher, it could be lower. And I don't think we would know, really. So we'll say at least an hour. At least, well, honestly, at least an hour and 10 minutes. Okay, so that's fine. That's adjust self. Then we have the oil of sharpness, which is not going to be in the spell list. So that's going to be... There's an oil of extra sharpness. Unless that's what they mean. No, oil of extra sharpness is different. Okay, what is an oil of sharpness? Oh, that might be under... It might be in here. I mean, I have a guess as to what it does. Really? It's not mentioned at once in the original rulebook. Okay. Fine, fine, fine. Really? So you never describe what an oil of... Is this like just a thing that I'm supposed to know from like old school D&D? Apparently, yes. This is something I'm just supposed to know that you didn't want to actually explain. That's not a great way to do it. Okay, let me just try and find the answer here. I see a lot of references people making to oil of sharpness without telling me what it does. Okay. I think it literally just makes a weapon like +1. It makes it like a +1 weapon for a time period. All I want is to just find... Like, just tell me... Apparently, in the olden days, you could get like +6 oil of sharpness, and it would make your weapon like +6. But I can't seem to find like an original... Okay, here's from 2nd edition. And yeah, the base version is +1 to attack and damage. Lasts for 1d8 plus 4 rounds. And a flask of the substance contains 1d3 plus 2 applications. That's apparently from 2nd edition. Now we could just look... Okay, we could just look at 5th edition D&D and see what it says. I was avoiding that, but let's just see. Can coat 1 slashing or piercing weapon or up to 5 pieces of slashing or piercing ammunition. Applying the oil takes 1 minute. For 1 hour, the coated item is magical and has a +3 bonus to attack and damage rolls. Okay. Also, I could just look at oil of extra sharpness. Oil of extra sharpness makes it a +2 magic weapon. Weapons already enchanted gain an additional +1 while oiled. Vial contains enough for 20 arrows, 2 tiny one-handed weapons, or a single small, medium, or large weapon. The oil can also be used in doses of 1/3 each, in which case it grants only a +1 bonus as oil of sharpness. Okay. In either case, the oil will evaporate 3 turns after it is applied. Okay. I think we're pretty clear on what oil of sharpness then does then. It's +1 bonus for half an hour on 1 weapon or 20 arrows, basically. Okay. It's not terrible. We probably want to hold on to that as well. Potion of Cure Light Injury, we already know what that does. We have 3 of them. We might as well have 4. And then Potion of Lightless Vision. Very controversial nowadays. Let's take a look. Spell. Light. Actually, this might not be a spell. No, it's a spell. Lightless Vision. It lasts for 1 day. Grants the recipient the ability to see as if he were carrying a light source that sheds dim light in a 60-foot radius. Lightless Vision does not enable the recipient to discern colors or to read books, maps, or scrolls. So the recipient might still need a light source for some tasks. Okay, so for 1 day, this is a very valuable thing. You can just see, basically, in the dark. I mean, it's pretty clear. You can see dimly in the dark, but you can't see colors or read books or anything. So you can see, shapes. in black and white, and you can make out stuff. Pretty handy for a stealthy operation. These are all good. And unfortunately, this kind of breaks down. This is the annoying part with slots, because I have to decide how many of these things I can fit in one slot. And again, I don't really want to run Axe, but you gotta admit that it does handle this pretty well with its 1/6 of stone and stuff. Because like a pint of oil, yeah, it's 1/6 of a stone. It's pretty simple. So 6 of those add up to a slot, and I can basically just say that. I mean, most of these things that you're going to be picking up, anything that's kind of a little item, you could probably bundle 6 of them together. But there are some exceptions. I think it really just requires your players to kind of be slightly competent and working off an honor system to sort of, like, everyone's kind of agreeing that, hey, we're interested in this whole encumbrance and slot thing. So yes, we want to follow the rules as written and not just cram our character sheet full of shit. Not tell you. I mean, if there's some, bullshittery happening with slots, it's not that big of a deal, because at the end of the day, the big things are still going to be big things. There's still going to have to be discussions about when you find 14,000 silver or something. It's not just going to be like, yeah, I write down 14,000 silver. Like, obviously, if there's going to be a discussion about it. So the little things don't matter that much, I would say. But yeah, I mean, I like everyone at a table being kind of honest and running the game honestly. So let's assume that we can fit 6 potions in a slot, though. So I've got 3 potions of Cure Light Injury. I think we should throw some of those over to Paris. So we're going to change this to 2 and 2. Okay. And then, if anyone's going to be stealthing in as a goblin or something, it's probably Felina in case she gets caught. Even though her charisma is terrible, in case she has to bluff her way out. It's hard to say. But all right, we'll give her the adjust self and sharpness. Actually, we'll probably give her the other 3. So I'm just going to put CLI, Cure Light Injury, Alter Self. Well, yeah, I just want this all to be in one slot, but Alter Self, Lightless Vision, Oil, Sharpness, sure. And we'll just put 6. So that slot is filled with potions. We know what's happening. Okay, and that's everything. That's all the loot outside of the money. So we've already deducted the money for the horses and wagon. And we still have 947 gold left over. Honestly, we could blow through this pretty quickly by just making some masterwork gear. Because that's, I think, 650 gold plus the price of the equipment. So it'd be pretty easy to make just like a masterwork weapon. Yeah, masterwork weapon plus 1 to damage and attack throws. And that would be like 660 or so. So I think that might take some time, but I feel like in Neverwinter, there's probably some of that just sitting around, on the shelves at a nice blacksmith, an upper scale blacksmith. Yeah. It says that their availability is at the GM's discretion, the judge's discretion. And I would use the term judge. I actually prefer it, but GM, DM is so ingrained into my head that it's hard to break away. Anyways, based on the judge's discretion, because Grandmasters are very rare, Masterwork items might be absent from even large markets where they'd otherwise be available based on GP cost. For instance, in the AX3 Capital of the Borderlands sourcebook, Masterwork items are only available from specific in-game merchants the characters must befriend. Yeah, I mean, I could see making a stink about that. And I think if I was trying to buy these in bulk, where I actually needed like a Grandmaster blacksmith to make a bunch of these for like my officers or something like that, you know, sure. But I think we're in the biggest city, one of the biggest cities in the setting, and we just want to buy one, so it probably is not too big of a deal. As for the actual weapon that we want to buy, for that, let's go back to Tales of Argosa. I know, we don't look at this much, even though we're running this game. And we can we can dual wield basically anything. I'm a big fan of the spear, as we know. I do really enjoy the spear. Because it's 1d6 plus 1, so that would actually be 1d6 plus 2, which is very solid. The only thing is, I don't think we'll ever throw it, and we don't really benefit from a second-hand weapon, or for second-rank weapon, because we'll always be in the thick of it. The rapier is 1d8 damage and has a plus 2 initiative bonus, which is very nice for most characters, but Felina's initiative is so insane it doesn't really matter. Beyond that, it doesn't really matter too much. So I guess I'd probably lean towards just having a longsword, which is a d8, and you get 1d10 plus 2 on the blade trauma. I mean, the rapier is probably better for most people, and they cost the same. They do the same amount of damage. The rapier just doesn't have quite as good of blade trauma, but it's still capable of like decapitating people, and you just get the plus 2 initiative bonus, which your whole group benefits from you having a fucking rapier. So the only reason I'm passing on is just because her initiative is already so insane, but she'd still benefit from it. But I just like the imagery of 2 longswords. So yeah, we'll go with a Masterwork longsword. It's probably the most like available thing to buy, really. Because like I said, they probably sell it for like officers in the military or something. So yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with the Masterwork longsword. So let me melee long. We'll ditch this mace. We're going to note that it is Master Forged. And we will add to the damage plus 2 from her dex, just like the other weapon. Equipped. And that's in her main hand, of course. So that means, let me just do a practice roll here. She should be adding plus 4 to the attack roll and plus 3 to the damage roll. So she added plus 3 to the attack roll because it... Oh, right. Yeah, I'm mixing 2 different games here. Master Forged in Tales of Argosa does not specifically apply that. It's a little different here. Master Forged gear. So basically, like, it has a variety of different bonuses, but the most common is +1 damage, which probably... No, it didn't even apply that. It didn't apply anything. What is even the point of this check mark? It doesn't do anything. Okay, so this should be 1d8 +3 then. The only issue is, like, I can't change it so that it adds an extra +1 attack. And if I change my overall formula, it'll apply to my offhand weapon as well. And we don't want that. So there's no way for me to just automatically make this add +1 to attack rolls. I really wish there was. But I don't know of a way to, like, adjust the attack roll code or anything. Again, the Tales of Argosa Foundation module is just so lacking compared to Shadow Dark, because I know for a fact you can modify in the Shadow Dark one. Yeah, there's nothing I can do. Every time I roll it, I just have to manually put in a +1. Okay, it's fine. That was a good roll, though. Okay, so then we're going to go to our calculator. We're going to deduct 665. Okay, that leaves us with 282 to play around with for hiring men. So let's dive back into that whole concept of hiring henchmen. So this is definitely henchmen. Yeah, these are henchmen, not mercenaries, because mercenaries are specifically for military campaigns. They are not who you hire to go after a dragon or something. They are trained for military expeditions or garrison strongholds, you know, open battlefields against probably other men. Yeah, so we want henchmen. According to Axe, we can each hire 4 henchmen. Modified by your charisma. So Felina can actually only hire 2 henchmen. But Harris can hire 4. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, because in the past, I think when we did that Shadow Dark hex crawl thing, we hired like a mercenary troop of like 70 men to help deal with a whole slew of zombies and stuff. It was disastrous, of course. And I must have allowed myself that. It says they won't accompany adventurers on dungeon delves, even if personally led, but they will participate in sieges and assaults on dungeons if present in sufficient numbers to entirely blockade the dungeon, or if personally led. So you can do an assault, a siege on a dungeon. They won't go in, but they'll siege it. But as long as you're personally leading the mercenary troop, outside of a dungeon, I guess they'll kind of do most things. But it says they will accompany adventurers on wilderness expeditions or sea journeys into unsettled territory if on a campaign towards a known military or mercantile objective likely to yield substantial benefit for the mercenaries. They will not assist in searching the unsettled territory en route unless personally led, however. So... yeah, basically, they probably would go after the dragon. Assuming we could convince them there's like a treasure hoard and it's, you know, it's a viable path to riches. Or, you know, their homeland is in trouble or something like that, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't think we're hiring in large enough numbers, though, to really go for mercenaries or something. But well, henchmen, they're obviously very limited in how many we can have. They get a half share of treasure. They get a half share of XP because they're intended to level up with you. If you're just hiring men for basically a military expedition involving, death and war and stuff, and you don't plan on them sticking around at all, then mercenaries might be the better route. But it does say that they will expect a share of military plunder in addition to wages. And the thing is, we don't know anything about this dragon. We don't know we don't know if it has a hoard of riches or anything. I think we were told that it's a young dragon that recently took up home in that tower. So the chances are it doesn't have a big hoard of treasure. So probably I don't think we want to go for mercenaries, but in many situations that would be viable. Light infantry, men, it's 6 gold per month. Yeah, so I mean, you could probably get 30 light infantry for not that much money up front. Yeah. But we're not going that route. We're gonna go for a smaller group. So we're looking for henchmen, and remember, again, it doesn't sound like you ever have to pay these guys up front unless you want to try to pay them a signing bonus to influence the hiring role. But I always felt it was insane to not have to hire them up front. Or to not have to pay them up front. And we've gone over this. Like, I've read these rules. It never seems to mention paying them. You have to pay. I mean, I guess Axe has you paying money per week as you try to find these henchmen or hirelings or things like that. So you are spending money up front. It's just not to them specifically as part of hiring them. It's like paying for drinks and handing out flyers and all sorts of little incidental costs that rise up per week. And the problem is, like, it's a bit too much. It makes sense. I mean, it taking like at least a week. Even in Neverwinter, it's going to take minimum 1 week to find even like one guy. That is a bit of a stretch. I would say we could probably find a guy in a day. But yeah, I mean, they keep it relatively simple, which is okay. It's a week at the bare minimum. So, searching in Neverwinter is actually extremely expensive. You have to pay based on the market class of the town. So every week we're searching in Neverwinter costs us 1d6 plus 15 gold. But yeah, I mean, for the amount we're hiring, that would be a bare minimum of 1 week. So, I mean, I could then, I guess, say, okay, we don't need to pay up front, because we are paying some money up front anyways. But it just seems so weird to me that a guy's just gonna be like, yeah, I'll join. But at the same time, that's how players do it. When a group comes together of player characters, they're all just together. Usually no one paid each other or anything to come along and, yay, come along, you'll get treasure and here's your monthly wage and stuff like that. So these are kind of like that. They're adventurers like you. They're just not quite the same because they do get a monthly wage in case, you know, there's no treasure or something like that. So I guess. Okay, so we're level we're level 2. Which means that according to that we could hire first level henchmen if we wanted. And that would be a monthly wage of 25, but honestly, I don't know how many of these we're gonna stick around after. Well, I guess because we're gonna go to the Goblin Castle, so it might be at least a month, but 25 is not that much. So let's assume we want to hire 6 of these guys, which is the max that we can sustain. 4 for Harris, 2 for Felina. And the problem is, Felina is going to have to do her own hiring. I think there is some rules here for, like, passing off henchmen. Yeah, transferring employment of a hireling. Sometimes a hireling might be recruited in a party by one adventurer with the intent that that hireling will actually be employed by another adventurer in the party. When a hireling is transferred from the employ of one adventurer to another in the same party, the hireling's loyalty and morale scores are immediately recalculated based on the charisma, proficiencies, and class powers of the hireling's new employer. The transfer then counts as a calamity, which means that you have to roll immediately on this loyalty thing. So their loyalty will immediately take a hit, and they might just immediately resign. They might even be hostile, where they immediately leave and consider the employer a rival and enemy in the future. Like, this was so duplicitous of him that, you know, I joined to work for you, not this bitch. I guess something like that. Yeah, so whether or not that's better than just Felina doing her own hiring is hard to say. But needless to say, she's probably going to have to put up a signing bonus. So, assuming no signing bonuses, and assuming we pay just this cost of like 20 gold, then we really don't need much money. We really don't need much money up front. You can just hire these people. They're all going to take a half share of the treasure we get, which is kind of significant, so we probably don't want them with us for too long. At least not all of them. We'll see who survives and who proves themselves and stuff like that. But yeah, they... and then I think we actually have to supply them. Oh no, it says henchmen should be rolled up with attributes, classes, hit points, and equipment just like player characters. Yeah. Okay, so we don't have to give them their weapons or anything like that. We just have to roll them up. So let's, I guess, hire 6 first level fighters. I mean, that makes the most sense. And there are generators on the Discord I saw for generating henchmen. It might be worth looking at that, but that's going to generate them by axe rules, not Tales of Argosa rules. I probably don't want to get too much into the nitty-gritty. Yeah, again, I feel like maybe this is something we should be doing with mercenaries. You know, it's just... it's just the question of like campaign towards a known military or mercantile objective likely to yield substantial benefit for the mercenaries. So we can't just, I mean, it's all pretty flexible, right? So if players say like, look, we want to hire a bunch of mercenaries and, you know, we want to go kill this dragon, it probably has treasure, but if not, you know, we'll compensate you. We will give you each an extra, you know, 20 gold or something. I mean, that's, for them, that's over 3-month wages for light infantry. Or for bowmen, which is probably more what we'd want. That's over 2 months' wages. I feel like I'd have to go for like, I'd have to go look at the army and maneuver section to see sort of what they expect out of a military campaign or something like that. I don't even know, man. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into it. This is just the player rulebook. This isn't even the judge's book. Hard to say. You'd think that would be kind of clear, right? That would be laid out somewhere of just, hey, you know, we did this. What do I have to pay these guys? I don't know. I feel like I'd have to maybe look at the Discord more, or it could take a while. Yeah, it's hard. Okay, fine. We'll go with henchmen until I can figure out exactly what they would charge. We're gonna have to give up a lot of shares of treasure, but the XP is mostly what we care about, I suppose. And yeah, I mean that's basically it. That's basically it. So fine, we're back to hiring henchmen. We're hiring first level fighters. There's 5d10 first level henchmen available in Neverwinter per month. So 5d10, 23. And I think half of that is available in the first week. So there's 12 available in the first week. How many of those are going to be fighters? Probably at least half, right? That's got to be one of the more common professions among the classes that you'd find, right? Fighter, explorer, thief, mage, crusader, venturer. I feel like a good majority of them are going to be fighters, and maybe a couple of them are going to be thieves or mages or crusaders or something. But yeah, fighters got to be the most common. So I don't think we have to spend more than a week here. And we will spend 20 gold. We'll just round it into 20 gold. for all the buying drinks and handing out flyers and stuff. I don't. Are we counting that as a long rest? I think that's fairly restful for a week here in Neverwinter, so we'll do a long rest. Good. Long rest. Good. I mean, that's why we came back to Neverwinter in the first place. So now we have to do... So it's going to be 25 gold per month for 6. So that's 150 gold for a month. Assuming they all survive, which, let's be honest. So then... See, I don't know if... I feel iffy about actually making them as first level fighters. I feel like they have way more hit points than they actually should. A first level fighter, on average, is going to have like 13 HP. Compared to a game like Axe, where they would have... I guess even if you do... I guess if you do a max, they'd probably have like 9 or so. Yeah, 8 or 9 or something. Let me just look real quick. Tales of Argosa. We never use these rules, but there is hireling rules. I mean, it's all pretty similar. I like that it also includes the time of buying drinks and making inquiries. It puts here 1d 3 days, costs you 2d 10 gold. So much a simpler system. And it says urgent recruitment may be possible at higher cost. GM's call. And then you have to make a charisma leadership check to convince them. Any modifiers are GM's call. It doesn't seem to really talk about at all, like, their stats and stuff, though. It also says, henchmen gain experience like a PC. Whether they receive a share of party treasure is a matter left to PCs to negotiate. Typically a half share. Wow. I mean, if the party can negotiate the guy out of a half share of treasure, good for them, I guess. So it seems pretty fucked. It's really weird. It doesn't talk about their attributes at all. I guess you just generate them, again, like 3d6 down the line. Tales of Argosa is pretty simple in that respect. So, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, we really should use a generator. And again, the Shadow Dark module is just better. You can instantly generate characters and roll it all up very easily. I'm not gonna roll. We're just gonna pick like relatively average stats for our fighters, as if I rolled, and that'll just be the stats for all 6 of them. Henchmen. Okay, so they're all gonna be fighters, so that's gonna be a 15 strength. We'll go 11 dex. We're going to go 13 con. Those are kind of their priorities. They all have 8 intellect, 10 perception. We'll go 12 willpower and 9 charisma. That's all of them. They're all human, so on and so forth. Yeah, I mean, I guess C14 health. Actually, I didn't pick fighters, so they would actually have 16 health each. Which is way too high, man. But at the same time, it's like, how can you not have it that way? Because they're first levels. They get XP. They will reach second level. You know, they'll keep leveling up. Why wouldn't they be the equivalent? I mean, yeah, they're not the same as player characters, and by that argument, I guess you could just nerf them and say they're just not as special as you are. But that's very kind of against the OSR spirit, because one of the things you can often do is if your character dies, and they often recommend this, you just pick one of your henchmen, and you take over, and that is your new characters. You're one of the henchmen. And they don't suddenly become imbued with like this divine gift of superpowers. You know, they have the same stats, they have the same gear, they're the same character. You're just in control of them now. You know, Harris is not, well, I mean, Harris is kind of special, but Felina is not inherently any more special than any other level 2 fighter out there. So yeah, like it or not, and as weird as it is to me, these guys are all going to have 16 health, which makes them pretty likely to survive, I would say, and we're with such a troop of us. The real shitty part of this, of course, is that I am giving up a lot of my treasure. You know, if we find 1,000 gold, we're dividing that by 5. We're dividing that by 5 technically, and so Felina's getting 200, Harris is getting 200, and then 600 of it is going to the henchmen. But they're going to be pretty fucking useful to have. So, you know, it makes it a very different game. I mean, there's no denying that. And I think compared to like D&D 5th edition or Pathfinder or Shadow of the Weird Wizard or something like that, where the players are the focus, they're the heroes, they're kind of superpowered and everything, they can take on anything, so on and so forth. Here, we almost get kind of pushed a little to the background because it's like, okay, let the boys do it, and we'll observe, and we'll take a little bit of the treasure. You know, it's a very different kind of game. We are special, and we do get full XP, and they don't, and so on and so forth. And in time, you know, we'll kind of weed them out because we won't need to rely on them as much, and we'll convert over to more mercenaries instead. But, you know, for right now, after getting our shit kicked in the Thunder Tree Ruins, we're kind of looking for some help. All right, I don't really want to go through all the trouble just yet of making them proper fighters and adaptable and everything. So let's just equip them all with the same equipment. We'll assume they're all, off the assembly line. So we're going to give them all spears and bows. And I picture half of them are probably going to use bows. We'll go with short bows. Yeah. And for armor, they're all going to be wearing medium armor. +3 AC, so it's like scale, I think. And they'll all have shields with their spears. So as they take damage, we'll just have to track it in the notepad, but I don't want to make 6 character sheets for these assholes. Yeah. And then we're going to have to buy them food. We're probably going to want to buy more food. Nah, we got 2 weeks of rations for the donkey. So we're going to want to resupply our rations and buy each of them rations. So that's going to be 7 gold off our money. -7. I may have had to buy some of this stuff Maybe none of them had bows or none of them had shields or something. So I think I am going to have to spend some money. And we haven't gotten to actually recruiting them. We might not actually recruit all 6. So we should probably see how many. We'll say the max we can get is 6. Let's do that. And we'll see how much this number dwindles down. And I do have a lot of spare change here, so I might want to throw in a signing bonus for all of them. That's going to be 150. But that's probably worth it. So the signing bonus is a month's pay is +2. So I think that's the way to go. So it's going to be 2d6 +2 for all of these. So let's deduct 150. Okay, down to 105. So Harris is going to recruit his 4. He's got a +2. So this is the first one. All right, so that's going to be 11, which is accept. Second one, 12. That's accept with Elan. So it's very good spirit. He gets +1 bonus to his loyalty score. Hopefully that doesn't become relevant. Third one. Okay, he's rolling pretty good. Also accepts. And the fourth one. It's a try again. He needs more convincing. The adventurer must sweeten the deal in order to get an additional roll, such as by offering more pay, a magic item, or other appealing suggestion. All right. Fuck. I'll give him another 10 gold. Okay, now we get to try it a second time. Say he's still not pleased with it. Still not pleased with it. Fine, another 10 gold. Come on, man. You're not worth this. You're the same as the other assholes coming off the assembly line. Dude, holy shit! I almost want to just kick him out. What an asshole. I can find a billion dudes just like you, man. You're not worth this. He's done. He's out of here. He pushed it too far. So I'm taking my money back. Because I didn't give it to him. He doesn't get to take that. That was an offer. So that was 25 plus 10 plus 10. So plus 45. What an asshole. Is that right? Weren't we at 105 or something? Before I deducted another 20? I don't remember now. It's fine. Fuck that guy. Okay, so now it's Felina. And basically she's nullifying her charisma negative with the money. So she's just rolling straight up 2d6. Alright, she got a 9, which is an accept, barely. So she's got 1. So we're at 4 now. And now her second higher is an 8, which is try again. So she'll offer up 10 gold. It hurts her soul to do it, but she will. Try again. That's just a 6. So try again. All right. Fine. There it is. Okay. We got 5. So I'm going to put a henchman times 5. Okay. Yeah, so probably we have to buy a little bit of equipment to make sure they all have the same stuff. So, I think then, like, what's the price? Short bow is 25 gold each. Medium armor is 40 gold each. Well, no, we're going prices off of axe. Sorry. There, that's much better. Short bow is 3 gold. Thank you. Much more sensible numbers. Yeah, so 3 gold for short bows. Spears are 3 gold. Shields are 10 gold, so those are going to be more less likely for them to have. Scale armor is 30 gold each. Yeah, so I think probably to outfit them all, let's just say 60. Okay, so our final number we're leaving town with is going to be 50 gold and 5 silver. Okay, done. Did I deduct 7 for rations? Fuck, I don't know if I did. Alright, fucking feel like I probably did, but I'll deduct it. 148, there you go. Alright, so they're all gonna get rations. We're refilling our rations. And we're gonna be ready to set out. Keeping in mind, I do have these 6 pearls. I have 1,500 gold still sitting in my pocket for a rainy day. Oh, I wasn't going to hire these guys yet. Because I don't want them getting a part of this. Fucking hell, this fucking silver and copper. We're going to have so much money. What am I going to do with all this money? Okay, we're not... Okay, we're going to go... We're not going to hire the henchmen just yet. We're going to go out to the cache with our wagon and our horses. We're going to load up the whole wagon with most of the money. We can't carry it all back, but most of the money. We're going to bring it back to Neverwinter, and we're just going to, like, rent out an apartment or something and just store the money there, you know, in a giant chest. And then, you know, we'll have the money just in case. And I'll put my pearls in there too. And hopefully we never get robbed. Okay, so we haven't hired the henchmen just yet. So let's head back out there. So it's a fresh day, and we're going 1, 2, 3. So now we're gonna have to have 3 encounters, and I'm just going to regenerate these, and we'll take the first 3. We'll go high fantasy, I guess. Okay, no encounters, some patrollers, and some commoners. I think that's all mostly as expected. You know, this is a river. I'm sure there's people fishing and all sorts of stuff along here. Thankfully, none of them found our cache. But it is pretty far from town. Okay, and then we're going to... Alright, we're going to camp for the night. So we're going to deduct a ration. Okay, and then we have our nighttime encounter. And, you know, some of these don't really make any sense for, like, a nighttime encounter. Like, you did dangerous terrain and stuff. Or you find a fucking portal or something. So, I guess you just scroll down until you find here, like, a grave ghoul. Okay, we have a grave ghoul encounter. I'm gonna regret this. Ghoul, grave. Cannibalistic undead creatures. Driven by an insatiable hunger. Yeah, these are your typical ghouls, I suppose. They carry a horrifically virulent form of ghoul fever. So anybody hit? Anybody damaged by the ghoul has to make paralysis saving throw to see if it's become infected. If they fail, the creature begins to violently spasm at the end of the grave ghoul's initiative. While spasming, creature is considered paralyzed. Can be cured with Cure Light Injury or Cure Disease, otherwise it subsides after 2d4 turns. So that's going to be like 50 minutes or so. And if not cured, they remain infected and doomed to become a ghoul. will become a grave ghoul in 2d6 days. Transformation can be prevented with a divine spell Cure Disease if cast before the disease has taken full hold. Okay. Great. So a wilderness encounter of these is 2d8. Horrific. They have armor of 13. They have 2 hit dice. They attack 3 times per turn. And the third attack causes just paralysis. And that's not counting the whole thing where if you take any damage from them at the end of the round, you have to make the paralysis saving throw to see if you become infected. And then if you become infected, you immediately become paralyzed. These things are fucking vicious, man. This is a TPK just waiting to happen. Which, you know, ghouls often are in these old style games. So 2d8 ghouls, 8 of them. Okay. Now, you wouldn't really want to just say, oh, you're sprung upon you, a pack of wild ghouls, and now roll to die. You know, you always want to try to telegraph danger, and you always want to try to offer some form of out. You know, if the players are quick thinking, they're cautious, they know when to run, when to flee, things like that, you always want to offer them some form of out rather than just dragon swoops by and obliterates you. Rocks fall, everybody dies kind of thing. So we need to be able to telegraph these ghouls. So let's roll the reaction roll first of all. We got a 5. That's pretty bad. According to... Let's take a look at the monster overhaul real quick. A 5 is going to be cautious aggression. Yeah, so they're not rushing in hatred, you know, or anything like that, but they are definitely looking for food, looking to kill, and they're approaching cautiously because they just see 2 dumbasses hanging out here by a campfire. This is fucked, man. We are pretty boned. So, it's nighttime. We're by a campfire. Our visibility is terrible, and their visibility is amazing. They have lightless vision out to 60 feet, so they see us. No problem. And I doubt we really see them. We might hear them a little bit, but they're undead. Undead are usually silent. But we might see some moving shapes, you know, kind of on the fringes of the campfire. And so whoever's on watch obviously immediately wakes the other. But this is a pant-shitting moment sort of thing. What would be the way out? I mean, assuming that we're playing this, the DM kind of alludes to a bunch of shapes on the fringes and stuff. What is the way out of this situation? How would we possibly avoid death? Assuming, I mean, just assume we immediately know that they're ghouls, there's 8 of them, and they want to kill us, and we can't win. You know, assume we have perfect knowledge there. How do we get out? I mean, in our case, we do have a star mage that can make portals and stuff like that. Or he can put gravity pulse on both of us and we just jump away into the sky or something. But yeah, let's assume we're just like 3 fighters or something, or like 2 fighters and a rogue, because that's our group and that's how we play. How would you get out? You know, like I genuinely don't know. This is like a worst case kind of thing, because these are not wild animals. These are not men or anything. Like, there's no reasoning with them, and there's no, like, scaring them off. These are extremely violent, hostile, cannibalistic, undead creatures that can't be bargained with, can't be reasoned with. They have no fear, and they would just want you dead. It's terrible. I think, well... So they have a... They're as fast as you are, generally. They have a land speed of 90 feet. Like, a running speed of 90 feet, which is, in axe at least, is probably going to be what yours is. Unless you're very weighed down or very unweighed down. You're probably looking at 90 feet. So, yeah, I would say that the ghouls are about as fast as you are if you run. So that means if you just dropped everything and just ran, you'd have to do something to make them not chase you. And I think probably that would involve maybe dropping food. Because they're driven by an insatiable hunger. So they just want food. But they eat flesh. They eat, like, corpses. So I don't know if they just eat, like, jerky, you know, but maybe. It's flesh. It's dead flesh. What's wrong with jerky? So, yeah, I mean, I guess if we're following Tales of Argosa rules, if the party immediately said, okay, we retreat, we want to do a party retreat, it's like, okay, and we're going to drop a couple rations behind us to try and, you know, get them off our tail. It's like, okay, I'll give you a bonus for that. I guess that's how I do it. I mean, I guess that's how I do it. I don't know exactly how Axe would adjudicate that. I don't know how they handle chases. I didn't look too closely into that. It's probably somewhere in these fucking rules somewhere. Oh yeah, there's the evasion rules in the wilderness. Depending on the surprise and stuff like that. There's a lot more rules compared to Tales of Argosa, as you can imagine. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I guess that's how we would do it. And we're probably just going to retreat. We're just going to grab our bedrolls and drop some rations and run. Assuming we're not just completely surrounded. So I'm going to deduct one more ration. And we're going to have to make some luck rolls here. And I'm going to give myself a +2. And this is going to be... Should this actually deduct luck? That seems kind of harsh. No, I'm not going to have that deduct luck if we succeed. So it's literally just... Because it's like... Okay, I either fail and I die, or I succeed and I lose a luck point. It's like not very fun. And you want to encourage players to flee rather than die, so... yeah, we're not going to make that... Okay, you got a great success. Excellent. She's going to do the same. Great success, alright. Well, the rations didn't matter too much there, but, you know, you never can be too sure. So, we bolt out of there. We didn't have, like, a tent or anything. We didn't all set up, and I assume the donkey ran with us. The donkey's always with us. So, a little scary. A little scary. Technically, I would give an XP for that. Because that would be a losing battle that we fled from. I don't know if actually that's worth an XP, but I did it. It's done. Okay. We're gonna run through the darkness for at least like an hour, which probably is going to be another encounter roll, really. I would imagine. We're running through the darkness in the middle of the night. How can I not? So I'm going to re-roll this. There's no... Oh, there it is. Okay, no encounter. That was the first result, so that's it. Alright, good. And then we set up camp again, and the rest of the night goes by, which is not much of the rest of the night. And then the next day we move back here. And technically we find merchants out here. They're probably going along the river then. I don't know why. This river doesn't really lead to anything. It doesn't really make any sense, to be honest. But I don't know enough about the Sword Coast to really talk about it. I mean, maybe there's some settlements in Neverwinter Wood, but I kind of doubt it. So maybe nothing's around the river. I don't know what the merchants would be doing here, man. I'm not this creative. So just say they're going along the river. And hopefully the players don't care about it. Okay. So then we find our cache, because we definitely know where it is. We made very good note of the location. And we're smart people. So we're going to find it. And we're loading our donkey up with 14,000 silver. 14,000 silver pieces. That's 70 stone. And then I think we could fit... What was it, 240? Wagon, 2 heavy horses. No, we can fit up to 320. So maybe we can actually fit all the... It was 175. 175 plus 70. Right, which was slightly over the cart. That's why we went for the wagon. So we can get all the copper, which was 35,000 copper. And I assume that it's in some massive chest already or something. Although I wonder, maybe it's in multiple chests. Because I wonder how much a chest can hold. An iron-bound chest can hold 20 stone. Which is interesting. Oh, yeah, okay. So the chest itself weighs 5. And then, oh, okay. So that affects our numbers then, but not much. So how many chests would it be? Well, no, we can't really go off of that because axe has a different value for how much coins weigh. I think it's 1,000 coins is 1 stone. One stone per 1,000 coins. Right. So their chest then can hold 20,000 coins. Which means that one chest... That would be 49,000. So 3 chests, really, is what we're looking at. Which, I mean, man, that really drastically changes the equation, because I'm doing Tales of Argosa where it's 200 coins is 1 slot. Holds up to 200 coins, a small sack is 1 slot. So I'm mixing 2 different systems here But if I was going to follow Axe, which I am for most things, it would be 1,000 coins per slot, because that's 1 stone. And again, Axe doesn't use slots. And I guess it's not really, no, that's not really correct, because we're abstracting a lot for Tales of Argosa. I don't want to switch to a stone system, even though that would solve some problems. I don't want to get into that whole deal. It wouldn't be, for me, like solo and stuff, it would be relatively simple. But for DMing, for like my family and stuff, for me to switch to stones, that's kind of iffy. Because we're not going to introduce like variable movement speed based on how much stones you're carrying and things like that, you know. And if I change it to like, because I mean, there isn't really a max load for a person. I mean, there is, obviously, because eventually you just can't move and stuff. I think there might actually be a max value that you can actually carry somewhere. I don't remember where it lists that. Speed and encumbrance or something like that. Maximum encumbrance any man-sized character can carry is 20 stones plus his strength modifier. Right. And so, if you're carrying 20 stones, I mean, really, if you're carrying like 15 stone, your speed in combat is 10 feet per round. And your expedition speed is 6 miles per day. I mean, you are inching along there. So I don't want to introduce all that stuff, especially. So if I remove that, then really it gets a little tricky, because what limit do I set then on stone? I can't set it to 20 plus strength mod, you know, because that's ridiculous. With no penalty, you know, and you can just, oh yeah, you can carry up to 20 stone. I mean, that's an insane amount for a person to carry. So I could just set some other arbitrary limit, like 7 stone plus your strength mod. That's what you can carry without penalty. And that's probably fair enough. But again, that's a lot. It's quite a bit, although including armor, I guess it's not that much. Because I think plate armor weighs... plate armor weighs like 6 stone. Yeah, plate armor weighs 6 stone. So with plate armor, assuming you had a decent strength mod of like +2 or so, you'd have 3 stone left to carry shit. Which would be 3,000 coins, so I suppose. But then a shield is 1 stone. So that's, you're at 7. And then, let's say you got a sword, that's 1/6. So you're at 7 and 1/6. With just your armor, shield, and weapon. And then you start getting into all the other things you might want to carry. And, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, relatively, that you're wearing plate armor. And in the system we're using, Tales of Argosa and all that, I mean, plate armor does take up a lot of your slots, unless you have a pretty massive strength score. So it probably would balance out relatively well. If I really wanted to ditch slots entirely. But assuming I didn't, and we say 1,000 coins is 1 stone, 1/6 of that is less than 200, actually. Because we're saying a sword takes up 1 slot, and a sword is 1/6 of a stone. So if I'm going by that, where and a two-handed weapon in Tales of Argosa takes up 2 slots, whereas here it's 1 stone. So we're basically saying there's 1/6 and there's 1. But we're also not quite saying that, because I'm not going to allow you to hold 6 swords in 1 slot. Or I'm not going to, it's like, but I'll let you hold 6 potions in 1 slot, even though that's 1/6 of a stone. So it's like, yeah, there is a lot of benefits to switching to the stone system. I mean, obviously, that's why Axe uses it. It's all good and it all makes sense and it's all clear. Whereas this abstraction, we get into all these problem fringe questions and areas. I probably should raise the number from 200 to something for coins. Like a little bit higher. For 1 slot. Because it wouldn't be that outrageous, really, for the average character to be able to carry 2,000 coins. That's 2 stone. It's probably going to slow you down. It's probably going to bump down your movement a bit. It's heavy. But it's not 10 slots in Tales of Argosa kind of heavy, you know what I'm saying? Which is what it would be. So I guess I could make it 400 coins to a slot. Maybe that's a bit more fair. Why are we getting in all these? I gotta end this video too, and we're just all over the place. We've accomplished so very little. I assume that you just listen to these videos to hear me ramble for a couple hours. And you don't really care if we ever get to Cragmaw Castle or anything. Right. Oh, right. We were talking about the chests and how many chests we have to deal with. So, yeah, according to Axe, it would be 3 of these ironbound chests. So that would add an extra 15 stone onto our weight on our wagon, which would be 260, which is still perfectly within the... I mean, it's heavy encumbrance. It's going to be slow going to get back to town. But, yeah, it can definitely handle the weight. So, yeah. I definitely don't want to switch to stones for Foundry, because just messing with this module any more than I already am is just a headache waiting to happen, and trying to convert it from slots to like tracking stones and stuff is going to be a nightmare. So yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm just thinking about, would like my family actually be able to handle it, or would it be just too much bookkeeping? I think it would be. There's too many 1/6 stone stuff. And just adding that up and tracking your total encumbrance. It's just too much. Slots just are so much easier, and that's why a lot of these games use them. So I don't think I would. As many problems as it would solve, it would just create even more of them. So it's not worth it. And we're talking about fringe cases and stuff like that. And when it comes down to it, like really large values here, like, yeah, we can just kind of talk in terms of stones, or really just in terms of pounds. Because that's what is 245 stone. So that's 2,450 pounds of coins and stuff. That's what we're talking about here. And so it doesn't really matter in terms of slots, because we're not dealing with slots. No person is handling this amount of money, so it doesn't matter. It just matters if you want to carry around coins. And they do. But there is a matter of, like, how much do I care? How much do I care when DMing to be strict about, oh, you've got over 200 coins, I better take up a slot, blah, blah, blah. It's like I said before, it's like if you find 14,000 coins, it's going to be a discussion about how to transport it back. No one's going to be filling, the party's not going to be filling their pockets and trying to waddle back to town or something like that. Like, it's just a massive amount of money. So the pocket change that characters carry around is not really that big of a deal. But I do still want it to be relevant. Because if it doesn't become relevant, then they just they keep accumulating money in their pockets, and eventually they just look down at their sheet and it's like, oh yeah, I happen to have 8,000 coins there. And it's like, no, I don't want that. I still want encumbrance to be a factor and carrying capacity. So there has to be a number where I'm like, yes, that takes up a slot. Is that number 200? I don't know. I could be convinced to go to 400 per slot, but I don't know. I guess it's a discussion for some other time. All right, so we spend some time, the afternoon loading up this cart. I guess it's all in chests, so really we just have to lift the chests, which, come to think of it, are probably pretty fucking heavy. So I might actually have to use gravity pulse on a couple of them. To get them onto the wagon. We're really not strong characters. And if you think about these chests, filled to the brim, 20 stone of coins. That's 200 pounds, right? Well, wait a minute. Didn't I say we have 245 stone worth of coins? How is that 3 chests? Oh, 1,000 coins is 1 stone. Right? Yeah. 1,000 coins. We have 49,000 coins. That's 49 stone. How did I get 245 stone? Wait, yeah, how did I get 245 stone? Was I doing 200 coins as a stone? I might have been. 70. I said there was 70 stone of silver. I definitely was doing 200 as a stone. So I was combining my two systems here. Okay, we definitely didn't need a wagon and 2 heavy draft horses for this. Because, yeah, it's 14,000 silver. So that's just 100 and... Let's see, 14,000 divided by 1,000 is 14. Yeah, 14 stone worth of silver and 35 stone of copper. 49 stone. Which, yeah, is correct. 3 chests. I was right about that. Right, so each chest has 20 stone. And a stone is 10 pounds, so that's 200 pounds. Can we lift 200 pounds? That's a good question. Can we lift 200 pounds together? That's pretty heavy. Harris is not... I mean, neither of these... Ugh. Boy, I mean, I said we didn't need a block and tackle, but now I kind of regret that. I mean, if we had a tree... We have rope, we could use the donkey to sort of pull it up, and then we kind of position it. Yeah, that's tricky. Okay, so, but the third chest only is going to weigh 9 stone, 90 pounds. We can lift that one. So I think I have to use gravity pulse on the full chests to lift them. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So we'll use both of those. We gravity pulse and we just one-hand it, you know, and throw them onto the wagon. And then we dual lift the 90-pound chest. And there you go, fully loaded. And now we're going to head back. So I think we're going to head here, probably. And that's as far as we'll get the rest of the day, which is no encounter. And then the complex map doesn't make any sense, so let's regenerate for the night. Okay, we find merchants at night. It doesn't make any sense. I refuse to even implement it. So I'd probably, I guess I would, if I was going to run this, I guess I'd probably just go down the list until I got something that made sense, which in this case would be no encounter. Because I don't think shepherds out here at night would also make sense. I mean, there are encounters possible. Like, it is theoretically possible, and maybe it's an interesting thing to have happen where you stumble upon some merchants by the river in the middle of the night or something. And again, we're by the river, so maybe. Actually, I think there are river encounters. Yeah, I should be rolling river encounters here. Okay, no encounter. Perfect. But then the next day, this first step is going to be hobgoblins. But then the next one would be we find a ring of invisibility. That's kind of insane. I'm not even going to deal with that. And this video is running long, so let's just pretend we find nothing. So let me tick off another ration. We already had our fun with the ghouls. Okay, and then we make it back to the final evening there. Okay, and we are going to rent an apartment, I guess, to hold all this stuff. And I am sure that Axe has price for that somewhere. But it also doesn't really matter. It's just part of like your monthly cost of living. Yeah, I'm sure it's somewhere in here. So we'll just pay a price up front of like it's in Neverwinter, I suppose, and we kind of want a decent place. So standard of living, comfortable, let's go with. Monthly 40 to 100. Okay, we'll pay the first and last month rent, so we'll pay 80. It's a lot, but we are also quite rich. Actually, let's pay in silver. Fuck that. So 80 gold is 800 silver. So 13,200 silver. Actually, I should have paid in copper. Fuck. Is that really... It's not a good look, though, is it? Just dumping pennies on the counter. So, fuck it. We'll do it. We'll have to handle money changing. I'm sure Axe mentions that at some point. We want to convert that to gold or silver. All right. And we have our safe house to store our money in. And our pearls. I'm going to put 6 pearls. So I'm going to remove that. All right. Well, shit. I mean, now I could probably get Masterwork armor, Masterwork second longsword, and all sorts of stuff. Actually, with our silver, I could basically just buy 2 more Masterwork items. And then it would be kind of gone. Crazy. I feel like I should give more XP for finally handling all that money and getting it safe, but nah, I gave out enough XP when we found it. It's fine. Considering we basically didn't do any work. The work is transporting all that shit, really, and getting it to a safe location. We're very fortunate we were, like, 18 miles from one of the biggest cities in the world. Because if we were, like... Imagine if we were, like, here. Or something. Like, all the way on the eastern side here, and we found this cache of, 50,000 coins. Trying to get it back to Neverwinter from there is a fucking journey. Even getting it to Phandelver is a bit of a journey, and it's quite risky. There's a lot of things that can ambush you along the way that might just want to eat you or might want to actually steal all the 50,000 coins. So, yeah, we were very fortunate to find it there. But, alright, so that's going to wrap it up for today. We accomplished basically nothing. Basically nothing. But we got plenty of money safe and sound. We bought some stuff, did some good shopping, and we did hire 5 worthy henchmen that are going to join us in glorious combat against this dragon and giant spiders and stuff in the Thunder Tree Ruins. So that's definitely happening next time. And, yeah, let's buy more rations. I don't want to forget. And I'll deduct, I don't know, 1,000 copper. Okay. Yeah, so, that'll be interesting. Handling 5 extra characters in combat. We'll see how it goes. But for now, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Mangging, Phandelver and Below, Tales of Argosa, and Axe, I guess. I'll see you fine folks in the next part.